And lift and roll your shoulders, just a reminder that this sets the energy and opens the energy gateway up into the head. And then breathing in, turn the head to the left. Breathe out, turn the head to the right. Into the left. And out to the right. Come back to the centre. Lift your toes and reset them. And just bring your attention to the base of your spine, almost at the Muladhara chakra, which is almost at the perineum level. And as you breathe in and out, just take your mind to the base chakra. And then move up, it's almost in front of your spine, it's on the back of your spine, it's in front of your spine, almost in the middle of the body, these energy centres. Take your mind up between the navel and the perineum, and that's your next chakra up. Svadhisthana or sacral chakra. Each chakra has what they call a Bij mantra, a note. The first one is Lam, and as you bring your attention to the next area, it's Vam. The next level up is behind the navel, our digestive process, but transforming not just food but our thoughts, what happens to us in the world and how we process it in our body. And the sound for that, the Bij mantra is Hum. You can mentally say Hum to yourself. And the next level up is the heart, the Anahata chakra. And the sound here is Hum. And then the next level up is the throat. Different traditions vary. So one tradition says from here on up, it's all Om. And then there is another fine-tuning that the throat is Aum, A-U-M, as opposed to O-M. But anyway, the Om sound. And then the next major chakra level up, there are lots of energy points in the body. These are some of the major ones, are at the Ajna, or the forehead centre, connecting to, of course, our mind, centre of intuition and knowledge. And then finally, up to the top of the crown of the head, the Sarasara. Again, this is Om. Again. And then just lift and roll the shoulders. And we're going to come to the top of the mat and do some very gentle salute to the suns. Mindful about downward dog, so do cat-cow. Lift and roll the shoulders. Hands together at the heart centre. Breathing in, circle the arms up, palms together, stretching up. Breathing out, bend the elbows, bend the knees. Bring the hands down the legs to the shins, to half lift. Breathing out, bend in. Breathe in, half lift again. And as you breathe out, just bend and place your hands to either side of the mat. Slide your right leg back, hold it, stretch out for a moment, heel up, and then bring your right heel down to the floor. The toes can remain tucked or untucked to your choice. And just slightly come onto your fingertips maybe, shin slightly either in or just comfortable to stretch out your right thigh. Tummy in as you slide your right leg back. Okay. Left leg, thank you. Good torsionist. Good chance on the ball. Fall over to that. And then your toes can be tucked under or flat. Breathing in, dipping the back, either looking up or looking along the mat. And breathe out round, chin comes to chest. Breathing in, dipping the belly. And then breathing out, rounding chin to chest. And option to bring the legs slightly wider, knees slightly wider, and come to bring the bottom towards the heels. How much you bring the bottom to the heels is up to you. And stretch out the arms. Find that point that's right for you. And take an in and an out breath here. So you might like to stay here just to enjoy the stretch. And then if anybody else wants to be a little bit more challenged, come to kneeling and we'll come to a downward dog, tucking the toes, tummy in, bent knees, extend the back and then extend the legs. Walk the dog by bending one knee, extending the other heel, and then reverse that. Bend both knees and then straighten both knees. Look forwards to your hands and then just drop your head back and feel that slight pull on your abdominal muscles. And then drop both knees to the ground. And soon just slide your hands towards your knees. Kneeling up. Raising the hands upwards. And just slightly sway from side to side. Come to the centre and drop your hands, left hand in front of the navel, right hand on the waist. Breathe in, lengthen the body. Breathe out, turn to look over your right shoulder. Breathing in, bring the head back to the centre and then turn to look over your left shoulder. And then come back to the centre. Come forward, hands on the ground. Hands to the left slightly to give space to your right leg to step up. Hands to either side of the right foot. And just allow yourself to lean into the right hip. But to come up again, bring your knee to a 90-degree angle. Tuck your back left toes, tummy in, lift your back left leg, and step or slide your left leg to meet your right. Hands on the shins, half lift. Breathing out, soften in. Breathing in, half lift. And stay here as you breathe out. Breathing in, press the feet into the ground and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And breathing in, raise the hands upwards, stretch the fingers, and then circle the hands down. Lift and roll the shoulders. Clasp the hands behind you, but knuckles aiming to the ground, and to open the shoulders. Just take a moment to enjoy this stretch, this opening across the shoulders and across the heart. And then separate the hands, soften the knees, and slide the hands down the backs of the legs. Bring them to the front of the shins, breathing in, half lift. Breathe out, soften in. Breathe in, half lift. And then as you breathe out, soften your knees and bend a little bit more to connect your hands to the ground and slide your left leg back. Extend the left leg, heels up to the ceiling. And then lower the left knee to the ground. Just enjoy a slight stretch, coming up onto the fingertips. And then lower your hand. Slide your right leg back. Feet are tucked under or flat, whatever works for you. Cat-cow, breathing in, dipping the back, looking up. If that's your neck's not great, look down. Breathing out, rounding chin to chest. Breathe in, dipping your back, looking up. And then as you next round, either come to bottom towards your heels and stretch out to your choice, or join me in a downward dog, bending the knees, then straightening them. Feel that you can widen your feet if you need to, and walk the dog. Both legs back, and then bending the knees back down to the earth. Untuck your toes, and joining soon with the arms stretched forward. Walk the hands to the right, so that you're stretching out your left side, and option to place your left hand on top of your right. Your head can potentially rest on the inside of your right arm. And then walk your hands back to the centre, over to the left. Option to place your right hand on top of your left. And then come back to the centre. Slide your hands towards your knees as you kneel up. And breathing in, raising the arms up. This time hold your right hand, your right wrist with your left hand, and just come over to the left. And then swap over, the right wrist holds the left hand, and come over to the right. Think about that. And then lower the hands, lift to roll the shoulders, and bring your right hand to your navel, left hand on the waist, and turn to look over your left shoulder. Come back to the centre, turn to look over the right shoulder, come back to the centre, and then coming forward, hands on the ground to the right, to give space for your left leg to come up, hands to either side of your left leg. Just enjoy coming forward, stretching out the left hip. But in order to come up, bring your left knee to a 90-degree angle, tuck your right toes, tummy in, lift your right knee, and then step or slide your right leg towards your left. Hands on the shins, half lift. Breathing out, bend in. Breathing in, half lift. And stay here as you breathe out. Soften the knees, press the feet down, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Lift and roll the shoulders. And then come to raising the arms, clasp the hands, reverse the palms upwards. To one side, your lateral stretch, static bouncing, breathing in, stretching up, palms up, and then breathing out, come to the other side, chin slightly into the chest. Breathe in, come to the centre, slightly turn to one side, come to the centre, and slightly turn to the other side. Come to the centre, and then lower the hands, lift and roll the shoulders, and hands on the waist. Option to test our balance this morning, lifting the heels. You've all done better than me. Really not balanced. And then when you're ready, lower the heels and carry on lowering the knees. Feel the abdominal muscles engage slightly. Your bottom can slightly go out behind you. And then breathing in, come back up to centre. And then for all those stiff joints we've been flying, just imitate birds themselves. All the joints are being moved. And make the next one the last one. Come to hands together in prayer centre. And then breathing out. Open the left hand, turn to look at your left outstretched hand. Bring the hand back. And then breathing out, turn to the right. And breathing back. A couple of times in your own breath pattern, opening to one side. And then opening to the other side. And then hands together. And just separate, just look at your fingertips. Hakini Mudra, it's very excellent for focus. And then just release the hands and lift and roll the shoulders. And then there's all energy movements swaying from side to side. And then very gently come to stand still, lift and roll the shoulders. And before we come down to the floor, either think of your nose as a pencil, drawing a horizontal figure of 8. And it doesn't matter which way you go, because we're going to be reversing the movement. And then if you would like to reverse that movement, noticing if you get into a muddle, it all comes back to our brain. And yes, I wouldn't instantly go wrong, but you might not have done.
It's quite hard the other way, isn't it?
How the brain kind of dictates everything. And then just come back to the centre. Hands together. And then very, very gently come back down to think about the back. So come to sitting first of all, and legs out in front of you before we actually get to the back. Just bounce your legs, and it's very familiar rubbing or patting or whatever you want to do. And then just hands to either side of you. In normal yoga, if you're being traditional, you'd have your fingers pointing forward, but we can be very relaxed. And the focus is the circulation of the feet, so toes up to the ceiling and toes down. You can move your feet together, or you can stagger the movement by a nanosecond, so that for a split second you're giving attention to each foot. Whatever works for you is good. And then circle the feet in one direction. And then circle the feet in the other direction. And you've got a bolster, you don't have to have a bolster, but if you've got one near you, just open the feet and just slightly curl them in. And then just bending up the right leg, hug the right leg in slightly, And hugging the right leg in, sit upright so that you're engaging your muscles to just support you're not slouching, you're engaging your core. And then just open your right leg to the right, slightly bring your left leg out, turn to face your left leg, toes up. And then if you want to be very yogic, you'd raise your arms, tummy in, bend your elbows to slide along, or you can just slide your hands along. No effort here, no grasping to try and come as low down on your leg as you need to. This is just a very gentle forward head to knee pose. The Sanskrit name is Janishasana, and the benefits of this pose are that you're opening your groin here on the right side for the lower lymphatic system. You are having a forward bend, which is calming for the nervous system, with the chin to chest and the vagus nerve activated. And then you're also just encouraging breathing to go in a slightly different place, so that your back, this time, the air, just the way that you're forward. It's a rotation, which is realigning for the back, too. You might find that as you're coming forward that you can just then go a little bit further forward. And the idea is to try and lead with your chest, and then once you're there, just release, drop over. And then very gently come up, hug the right knee into the chest, and then just release. Bounce your legs. Move your support, if you're going to use it, to the left side. And when you're ready, bend up your left leg and hug your left knee to your chest. Your left foot can be out if that's hard for you to have it in close. Just sitting up. Even here, you're engaging your core. And then when you're ready, just open your left leg to the left. Use a support if you need to. And your right leg might like to go slightly out to the right. Turn slightly to your right leg, circle your arms up, optionally, and then bend your elbows to slide your hands down your right shin. You can use your hands to press them down on your shins to lift you slightly and to turn you around. Just very gentle. And then just very, very gently lifting up. Bring the soles of the feet together. I don't know if Sue has a thought for the day, or if you want to ask Sue for any particular body part that you want to focus on today.
Can you blow back?
Well, the back, your spine is from, so it's just quite good to be sitting, I do it just on one foot, is from the outside of your big toe up to the ball of your foot, and then if you follow with your finger right down, you can feel little nodules, and there's actually one nodule for every one of your vertebrae in your spine. So if you're very careful, you can actually count down the number of vertebrae that you have, and then often you can get to a point which hurts, and mine is sort of on where my heel would come in, not my heel, the bottom of my instep, which is where my back pain is. So you can, so if you see what I mean, so that's your spine reflex point, is right the way.
Just showing Sarah, but
yes.
Sorry about my foot, Sarah.
So that's it. So you follow it down there, and then
Follow
right
the line
up your arch of your instep. If you follow it,
Oh, okay.
if you go down quite deep, you can feel the bone as you're going down, and then right down to the base of your heel. So if you've got a back problem,
So do you carry on the heel?
yes, it goes with just where it just stops, the bone.
Okay.
There's a bone, you can
Yes.
feel it's not one single bone obviously, but it's just the following the line. Can you see what I'm,
Yes.
sorry, Sarah, I
Okay.
probably can't. And that's, so yes, each one of the nodules that you can feel there is your vertebrae going count down. So if you can actually count down the number of vertebrae. So if you get to, if you get to this point where it hurts a bit on either side, or even sometimes both, that's usually where you'll find your back pain. If you've got or stiffness or whatever problem you've got. Unless you're really lucky, you don't have any back pain or any problem, in which case it probably just all feels really nice down there. So you can just run your thumb down, just sort of pushing in and pushing along, and that gives sort of relief to all along your spine.
Funnily enough, I'm here, which is the shoulder area.
Yes, it could be there's upper back, so the thorax. Maybe that's where you've got more stiffness than elsewhere. Whereas I can feel it. I don't know where yours is, Charlotte, but I can feel it. Definitely my lower back.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel. So anyway, that's the anyway. That's we haven't really touched on the back at all. That's all.
Yes.
The back.
Thank you.
Yes. So if you're really interested and really careful as you're going down, you can actually count the number of vertebrae going down. So you can have the exact point.
So
both sides.
just
But if you've got back pain more towards one side, you might find either your right or your left foot
Yes.
hurts a little bit more than mine certainly does on my right, so that's quite tender there.
We went here last week, but they, in the lovely old farmhouse opposite, the daughter-in-law is kind of living there now until the beginning of June, but then every Monday and Tuesday she does Reiki.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she has it in the house.
Oh, right, yes.
Just a beautiful house.
Yeah.
It's so old. And she was talking about Reiki a little bit here. She came to one of the yoga sessions.
Yes.
She's in her, I would say, mid-30s.
Yeah.
And her husband has had a cervical vertebra removed, replaced with titanium. They did it through the neck.
Oh, wow, yes.
Yes.
They don't even go through the
Yes.
back because they don't want to touch the spinal column. It's easy.
I just find that
Yeah.
Stunningly amazing. I mean, how clever some people.
Yeah.
So then finally, we're going to come to the back. One of the things I'm going to invite you to do, we haven't done this for a while, is to come onto the tummy. Little massage our fat for us.
Oh, we could do that. We
Into
can
sync
extra
but without
extra go at that.
upsetting your back. So elbows on the ground. And then for your hips, look down on the floor, tuck both toes underneath, lift up the right heel and extend the right heel back so that the entire leg's off the ground, and then just release the whole of the right leg, let the foot drop out, both heels drop out and wobble your bottom from side to side, which is called SIS, which is a sacroiliac stabilizer, and then tuck your left toes under, extend your left heel back, drop the right leg and then just rock from side to side. And then just bend up your right leg, and I don't know if you remember this, you can come up like a lizard.
Sorry, so legs still on the floor.
So you're on your tummy, my right leg is bent up slightly, and I'm just coming up with my right hand on the ground and bent at the elbow, so it's like a lizard sort of thing, and you can just, looking at the floor, just freestyle move like a lizard might do. It's kind of bizarre, it's very weird.
Worried, Charlotte. It's much more where I'm going.
So you just go anywhere. I like to go
We've
forward.
done that before,
Forward.
haven't we? But not for a while. It's nice.
It's quite prehistoric, of course. Going back to something very ancient, when we were hardly moving as we evolved. So yes, I'm bending my elbow and then coming back in. I'm just swaying from side to side. And then just release the legs back. Just rest your head on your backs of your hands. Bend your knees up and just sway from side to side. That's also quite releasing for the lower back. And then release the feet down. And then bend up. You can bend up the right leg. I suppose you could do it the opposite. It might suit you, I don't know, to keep the right, see if you prefer it with your left leg bent and your left elbow up, or whether you prefer your left hand on the ground bent and your right leg up. Whether you prefer that way.
No, it's easy then.
Which is easier?
Easy to go up on your, if you've got your left leg up, to go up on your right arm.
Okay.
It is for me.
So opposites.
Yes.
So left hand, right leg, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Left leg, right hand.
Okay.
Yes, opposites. I can't do it the same way.
Okay,
I
well,
can't move very much.
We'll go back and redo the other one. So
No, that's what I did before.
okay, so you're just up. Just moving however you want to, just to get movement into the body.
Yes, it just moves your back in ways that you don't do normally, isn't it?
Lizardy.
Yes.
What's the word for lizard? What do they belong to? What family?
Reptiles.
Reptilian.
Reptilian.
Thank you. And then just release. Hands on the ground, legs up, and then just sway the knees from side to side. This is almost stretching you out at the front of the hips as well, which is helpful for lower back. And then just very gently release the legs back down to the ground. And then very gently roll over. You can either come up onto your knees or roll over to the side. Just wing from side to side. We're going to be coming onto our backs. You'll be pleased to know. And really focusing on the backs for the next few minutes. So knees bent, feet hip width apart. Just turn the head from side to side a few times, hands either palms down or resting on the abdomen. And if your neck is sore, then you can linger in one space to one side for a little bit longer. And then feet slightly wider to the edge of the mat, perhaps palms down, just to sway the knees to one side and your hip will lift on one side. Bring the knees to the centre and let the knees sway to the other side. Very familiar movement, massaging across the top of the bottom or lower back. Your head can start as an option to join in with the movement, and normally you move your head away from the direction of the knees. If you find that your head's doing its own thing, that's fine too. And then just come to the centre. A couple of pelvic tilts, flattening the back to the ground and then releasing. Just pulsing along the lower back. And then come to stillness. And then hug the left knee into the chest. This time, we always circle the knee, but this time just make a figure of 8 with your knee. So whether that's horizontal or whether in fact you opt for I find possibly vertical in my mind. Whatever works for you, just move your knee very subtly in a figure of 8. I'm opting for a vertical figure of 8 here. And then of course the invitation is to reverse that figure of 8. And then open the left knee to the side, placing the left ankle on top of the right leg, hands down along the ground, and just let the knees slightly sway from side to side while you open the inner groin and you connect into the piriformis muscle on the outside of the leg, thigh bone, joining the hip. It's often implicated in back issues, low back issues. And then hugging the left knee into the chest. And that very familiar, holding the knee as you let it drift to arm's length in your own breath time. And then hugging the knee back in again. And you choose to work at using your own breath pattern. And then very gently place the left foot on the floor, supporting it underneath the thigh to protect everything. Just gently sway the knees from side to side. And then hug the right knee into the chest. Just enjoy the right side. Not always, but often, if people are right-handed, the right side of the lower back can be more affected, perhaps, with stiffness than the left. So not always. Sometimes you can have all kinds of combinations. And then just very gently thinking about making a figure of 8, holding your right knee. Your figure of 8 can be any size 8 that you want it to be, from the tiniest little movement to a slightly bigger movement. And then thinking about reversing the direction of your figure of 8. And just noticing if your mind jumps or mine has modelled it up straight away. I don't seem to be able to draw my 8 in one direction very easily. And then just very gently hugging the right knee once more into the chest and supporting that knee as you open it to the right, placing the right ankle on top of the left thigh, and palms are down. So just very gently swaying the knees from side to side. With a focus on that piriformis muscle. This is a pigeon alternative. It's upside down pigeon or a figure of 4. There's sometimes an invitation to extend your right heel so that you feel that at the top of your leg a little bit more, but that's an option. And then hugging the right knee into the chest once more, and again in your own breath pattern, breathing in, hugging the knee in, and letting it go to arm's length, and just do that a few times in your own breath. Almost pulsing along the back, getting the blood. As the weight of the body connects to the floor, you're getting the blood almost tingling up the spine. And you're more likely to be aligned nicely on the floor. And obviously people who've got all kinds of humps and bumps sometimes can't get on the floor, but if you get on the floor then the back's in generally a nice line to support blood flow all the way up. It's not crunched up at all. And then hugging the right knee into the chest, let the left knee join it. And just for a couple of rolls from side to side, you might roll to the side where your elbow connects to the ground, but otherwise just a slight roll from side to side. And now then hugging the knees into the chest, and in your own breath pattern letting them drift to arm's length. And just do that a couple of times. If you've got a lower back issue, this should be just getting it exactly to where that issue is. The more you hug your knees into the chest, the more satisfying it is. If you had a core focus, wanted to increase your core, you would let your you wouldn't let your hands do the pulling in, you'd let your abdominal muscles do it. But if you're really looking to soothe your back, then just using your hands can be quite well soothing. And then just very, very gently place your feet on the floor, maybe supporting them onto the thighs. And using your bolster if you need to. If not, you can put your hands under your bottom, lifting your bottom up to place a bolster underneath, supporting you. Just for a moment, have your bottom up, blood going back towards the heart, chin into the chest. And then if you're comfortable, hands down alongside you, bend one knee and then the other knee into the chest, and then bend one leg up and then the other leg up, so that you're in what I would call a supported shoulder stand, but without any pressure. And just very gently, for a few breaths, sway your legs like seaweed from side to side. You can take your hands and hold the mat to support you as well. That can be helpful, or just have your hands just along the mat. You can have your hands on your abdomen, whatever works for you. And with the legs up like this, you can cross ankles, lift your legs up, and then uncross them and cross them the other side. You can open your legs into a V and extend the heels. And if that's too much, you can just bring your hands to either the outside of the legs to support them, or sometimes the inside of the legs works as well. Bring your legs back. You can circle your ankles. One way and then the other way. And then you can either come back to the seaweed movement or just stay absolutely still, whatever works for you. And then you can either stay with your legs up or bend your knees into your chest and we're going to come to rest for a few breaths. Come to either put your feet on the ground, either having the support underneath you, or if you want to remove the support, then you would lift your bottom up and just take the support out from underneath. But come to a comfortable position just for a few breaths. And bringing the attention to the feet, relax them. Bring your attention to the soles of the feet and the heels, the ankles, the shins and the calves, and relax. So the knees, the thighs, the hips, relax. The lower abdomen, the upper abdomen, chest, heart, shoulders, collarbones, down the upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and the space beyond the fingers. Bring the attention up the spine, lower back, mid back, the space between the shoulders, the back of the neck, back of the head, the ears, the space between the ears, crown of the head, forehead, relax the eyebrows, the eyes, coming down the face, across the cheekbones, down to the chin and the throat. And then just settle the breath at the base of the nostrils. Taking a breath in to a point that you imagine to be the centre of the head. And as you breathe out, just put everything or anything that you don't want or is not serving you today into that out breath and leaving through the feet. And a couple of breaths in your own time through the base of the nostrils to the point in the centre of the head. And then breathing that down all the way through to the soles of the feet. And then this time, imagine that you are you're surrounded by mirrors. And the mirrors are radiating outwards. So you're only taking in positive energy and nothing negative can come into you today. It's a form of mental protection. And then just release that thought. And then very gently come to making any movement that you need to, fingers and toes. If you've got support underneath you, remove that, hug the knees into the chest. And we're going to finish with hugging the knees into the chest. Just connecting somatically as we come to a seated position. Take your time, maybe rocking from side to side. Don't feel that you'll have to hurry up. And when you're ready, and in your own time, come to a seated position. And finish the class on a Reiki movement. Just hold the hands to the side of the head. The head comes slightly forward. The thumbs behind the ears. We've done this before. In Reiki, you're here for about 5 minutes. If someone's doing an opening Reiki, it's connecting to the sense of touch is believed to dissociate the mind from stress patterns. So the touch is kind of like a security, not blanket, but it's a security feel, safety. And take the body a few breaths to begin to relax. We won't be here for 5 minutes, but we will move on to the next. So it doesn't matter which hand. One hand to the back of the head, one hand to the forehead. And just very lightly press with one hand into the back of the head and one hand onto the forehead. Your chin is into your chest, those at the back of the neck long. Your head's forward. And then remove the hand from the back of the head and lifting your head to sit upright. Just place that hand at your chest, your heart centre. And then keep the hand at the heart and drop the hand at the forehead down to the navel. You'll be sitting up now. And you can either stay like that to finish the class, or you can bring the hand at the navel to the heart centre. Either way, just take a bow for yourself for the day ahead, and thank you for joining me. And I'm just going to go on.